Please do not harass the person featured in this video, or I'll come find you. Alright, enjoy.
And in conclusion, Doodle, that is why Sonic would totally annihilate Donkey Kong in real-life Smash Brothers.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's cool, Sarah.
Are you even paying attention to how Sonic with the Chaos Emeralds is stronger than Goku?
No, I'm just watching a video.
Oh, guys, I didn't see you there. What's up?
Hello, Bowser. How has your day been going today?
I'm doing pretty good, actually. I'm halfway done replacing all the water in the Cloud Palace with gasoline.
Okay, but why though?
That is cool. I am sure it is very safe and productive.
I don't even think that's how that works. Sounds to me like you're pouring gas on the people below. Have we even established what's below the Cloud Palace?
Manhattan, obviously.
I see.
Guys, it's fine. I'm just doing a social experiment. It's going to turn out great. Oh. Well, it's going to turn out great later. This was my last canister for the day. So anyways, were you two commentators talking about commentary material?
Well, you see, Doodle showed me a video about Sonic and Donkey Kong and how their TV shows could be in the same universe. And I went on a tangent about how Sonic could totally beat Donkey Kong because of power scaling logic.
And I've been ignoring him.
But you do agree that because Sonic beat up the Axum Rangers in Mario Bros. Z, that means—
Ow, who am I kidding? Of course you are! What else would we be doing if we weren't?
So, I was sent a channel called Red Queen Miku by someone on Twitter that thought it would make for some good material for a commentary. I watched their most recent video on Channel Frederator, and, well, here we are. Basically, the context that you need to know is Channel Frederator does this series called Cartoon Conspiracies. They did an episode connecting the universes of Donkey Kong Country and the Sonic Boom cartoons, and Miku is covering that.
Welcome to what is probably the weirdest video you will ever see from me. So today our target is Channel Frederator. If you've never heard of Channel Frederator, you must have been living under a rock your entire life. The channel is owned by Frederator Studios, the TV production studio behind a fairly large chunk of my childhood and beyond. This, though, is their corporate shill channel, where they try to appeal to whatever kind of cartoon nerd they can hit on their random mega-popular cartoon dartboard, and most importantly, theorists. The latter is the side of Channel Frederator we're hitting today. Cartoon Conspiracy, as they call it, covers oddball theories from all over the spectrum, including is Darwin from Gumball definitely evil, is Plank alive, or Okay, pull it together, Miku. Today, though, we're not covering any random cartoons. No, we're covering two very important cartoons. Everyone knows Sonic Boom, the 2014 hit that everyone simultaneously loved and hated. Recently, I actually binged the entirety of this series. I can say with great certainty that it was alright. Nothing spectacular, but I didn't hate it, and there was at least good comedy. I had a good time. The other cartoon, though, is one that I've never watched, and only really know of through, well, coconut cream pies. That's right, it's Donkey Kong Country! Premiering in 1996 as one of the very first 3D animated cartoons, Donkey Kong Country is, memeable? Yeah, I know next to nothing about this cartoon. Thankfully, I'm not really going to need to know much about this cartoon because the presenter, Ariel, is apparently a huge fan of this cartoon for some reason, and I figure I can trust her word on it.
Which is why you're covering the video, because you trust her word on things. Clearly.
Okay, so you may have subtly noticed that Hatsune Miku drags on throughout this entire intro, going on about every meticulous detail and just sucker punches her videos pacing out in the gate. Look, girl, I get you want to go on about how fab Tails' goggles are, but trust me when I say that brevity is absolutely the soul of wit in this case. Even if you want to go on about how bodacious Sonic Boom is, you could condense this entire introduction to, "Hey gamers, did you know that Sonic Boom the cartoon and Donkey Kong capitalist dystopia phophobia are both cartoons. One I like, the other has pies. But the video I am covering claims that they both take place in the same universe, and I do not want to acknowledge the possibility that Sonic eats a coconut cream pie. Boom, it's short, gets the main context out of the way, and properly establishes your pie phobia all in one.
Like, I don't even think we would care that much if it didn't just feel absolutely unnecessary. Like the extra reactions towards the cars killing humanity theory, or your lack of knowledge of DKC, or the emphasis on how weird the one scene from DKC mentioning cream pies is, continues to add to the drag of the context far more than what's really required. And spoilers, this continues to be a problem throughout the video too, so expect that to be a running theme.
And I figure I can trust her word on it. To an extent, and we'll see where that extent comes into play later. So, how do you mash Sonic Boom and Donkey Kong Country together? Good question. Now, the first 3 minutes of this video is just Ariel drawing extremely tangential comparisons between the two shows that mean nothing lore-wise. It will become very clear, though, that she is very clearly doing this for the sake of Donkey Kong Country because she barely paid attention when she binged Sonic Boom specifically for this theory.
Well, actually, we can connect Sonic and DK together if we go to Sonic Boom Season Episode where we can see DK throwing his coconut cream on Sonic's face in the background.
Thanks, Bowser dude. I have been scarred for life because of this.
Jesus, I hate this segment of the intro. It's not gonna exactly be clear right away, so keep this more in mind for later, but the way this intro is worded is so unfortunate and gross that I feel like I tasted a poisoned well just listening to it.
Hey gang, bandages make us look cool. And edgy.
It is sports tape, and can you please not?
Wait a minute. Now, I haven't watched Fred the movie since 2034 after the incident, but I think it's safe to assume that videos have not gone to the point where they cold open with 10-second Discord memes. Unless this isn't the beginning of the video!
Not many people were a fan of Sonic and his team's new accessorized look. Hey gang, bandages make us look cool. And edgy.
Well, this is indeed funny. Just like Fred, from the Freddie Mercury franchise. And how this joke was actually poking fun at the people who complained about the new designs, and not dumb thinking sports tape is very edgy to hedgy, making what was just a small joke into you criticizing them on something they don't even think. Like I said, funny like Fred Sinatra from Scooby-Doo.
Now, you might think I'm being a little harsh with the accusation here, but this fact will become more and more apparent as we get further into this theory.
Considering how blatantly out of context this interjection was, pardon me for my skepticism.
That out of the way, we're starting at the 3-minute mark and diving right into this theory. You ready? Let's do this.
No, I am not prepared for this. I am still trying to recover from the incident.
What else do they have in common that brings people to believe that they're set in the same place, though? Well, they both take place on islands. Sonic's island is unnamed, which, hey, if this theory works out, it could be Congo Bongo Island, which is Donkey Kong's home.
Actually, the island in Sonic Boom does have a name. It's Seaside Island, or Bygone Island. The name's not entirely consistent, but at least there's a name. The name Seaside Island comes from Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric and Sonic Boom Fire and Ice, while the name Bygone Island comes from Rise of Lyric as well. I don't know why, I'm not as savvy on the games as I am on the cartoon, but I at least know a bit. We know it's the same island from the cartoon because the town is still run by Mayor Fink and features many of the same residents like Fastidious Beaver, Percy, Salty, and even Styx. Bam! Island's got a name. How do we know that the canon of the Boom games lines up with the canon of the Boom cartoon, though? Because the cartoon itself makes that clear. There are plenty of concepts in the cartoon lifted straight from the games, like the electric whips and the mentions of the ancients, that the viewers expected to know going in. Heck, there's an episode late in Season 2, Return to Beyond the Valley of the Cubots, that features a character named Defect that comes from Fire and Ice, that the characters already know before the episode begins, lending more credence to the fact that the games are the same canon as the show.
Man, I really appreciate all this evidence that is being shown in this video.
But there is no evidence.
Oh. Never mind, it was just the incident haunting me again. False alarm.
That said, it's unfortunate to say, but if the island has multiple inconsistent names between supposedly canon sources, then is it not fair to say that the island doesn't really have a name? Like, even ignoring how you show nothing as a presenter, even with the counter-argument you do give, it doesn't really do much to what the woman was saying.
Are they the same island? Or We're getting there. It's very easy to believe that for sure. Neither show's island is like your regular tropical paradise. They both have snowy mountains, for example. Mountains that are so tall that they have permanent snow caps. This is definitely not impossible for a warm climate if the mountain's high enough, but it's not exactly common for there to be just one super tall snowy mountain on an island that's like not surrounded by a bunch of other mountains in a range of some kind.
What you have to remember though is that these mountains were made for episodic cartoons, or in the case of Sonic Boom, a game series. What do you do when you're dealing with a small island or area of an island, but you want the characters to always have somewhere new and exciting and different to go? Just slap whatever wherever you want. A random mountain? Done. Boom. You got snow for your episode where you need snow. You're done.
Hey all, Sarah here. So on today's episode of Trying to Repress My Mental Trauma, we are going to talk about cartoons, specifically why you can throw a super secret underwater volcano lab in space and not have to explain anything, because really it just speaks for itself. Like honestly, people need to just stop establishing things ahead of time and just retcon all their future locations in after the fact. Next time we will talk about my super cool North Pole desert and how it totally makes sense.
Guys, remember that one episode in Phineas and Ferb where Isabel wanted to meet Satan to get a Fireside Girl badge? And they got there by entering the gates of hell located in Buford's backyard? That was fun. That was real fun.
You know, I would believe that would be a real episode.
Okay, but real quick, if I can stop shitposting for a millisecond. Just because it is a cartoon that is episodic doesn't mean you can just literally get away with whatever the fuck you want. Like, sure, if you can make the premise work, heckin' have at it, I guess. Like, if real-life Ronald Reagan showed up and went on a date with Shadow the Hedgehog, like in various fanfictions, then no matter how episodic it is, most people would be confused. Just as an example to suit my point. TLDR, no.
Besides, there are other ways to put characters in a certain location that doesn't fit the setting, other than just adding whatever the hell location you want, no matter the consequences. Yeah, sure, let's put Dracula's castle into Chuck E. Cheese, I'm sure we can make it work. For example, going back to Phineas and Ferb, the show has a winter episode, but the series takes place in summer. But they make it work by having Phineas invent a Giga Chad snow cone machine that made a snowy mountain for them. No need to add a random winter wonderland in the tri-state area. And Sonic Boom can do something similar to that. Like Eggman is always inventing these wacky inventions. They could just have Eggman invent an invention that freezes over the island to have their winter episode. Or, more simply, and I know this is like a crazy idea, have them go to a different location that has snow.
With all that is said and done, I think my biggest issue with this interjection here is that it doesn't do anything to the theory in question. Because with both islands being similar with their singular peaks, that only fuels the conspiracy connecting the two shows together, regardless of their episodic status quo. Reminder that the point the original video is currently making is regarding where the theory stems from and what is the evidence validating it in the minds of those who believe it. So ultimately, this ramble does nothing to even really argue that. Try again.
Furthermore, in the case of both islands, because you did a really bad job of actually showing what the mountains on DK's Congo Bongo Island actually look like, they're both incredibly sheer, jutting nearly straight upward, and they're extremely tall. These are obviously fantasy mountains and aren't meant to be compared to real mountains.
Okay, even ignoring my entire novella last interjection, you could have just taken the easy route of debunking this by just saying, you know, I'm pretty sure Sonic's island is not in the shape of a banana. It would still not have much proof to base it on, but at least then it would be somewhat humorous.
This continues to not address the point either. Come on now, Miku.
On top of that, let's look specifically at Sonic Boom for a moment. In the background of this image, we can see yet another mountain. This image is actually a wide shot that plays in nearly every episode in the series, yet it's a completely unknown part of the island. We can't see any landmarks that would clue us in to where on Seaside Island this could possibly be. Thusly, we could assume that this is a colder part of the island where snow would not be uncommon. After all, as you're eventually going to get to, Seaside Island is freaking enormous. But we'll get back to that when we get back to it.
I just realized upon scripting this, but you say this is probably a colder part of the island where snow is common, yet the snow only exists on the mountains? You know what? Maybe the Dream fans trying to cancel Hatsune Miku have a point. Also, would this same point not apply to Barrel Blast Island, since that could also just be a colder part of the island? God, what kind of incident did you go through to make you think this?
Well, she is Hatsune Miku, creator of Minecraft. She probably adopted the mindset said that you can build a snowy mountain in the middle of the desert if you tried hard enough.
You know what? Ignore my previous statement. This is a perfect mentality. Now I finally have an excuse to build my evil lair in the waifu chat.
That said, sure, I'll keep the size of the island in mind for later. Audience, feel free to follow along to that with us.
Finally, where does this geography on Seaside Island fit onto Congo Bongo Island? The only place on Congo Bongo with mountains is this one area right over here. That's it. There's no place where there's a really tall mountain, then another really tall mountain a little ways away. What's that? Uh-huh. I'm being told we get back to this. Brace yourselves.
Okay, I'll just jot this down too.
God, I can't fucking keep all these things in mind. I still haven't properly coped with the incident.
These islands also each have a desert, though Sonic Boom's is more of a red desert that you might find in like Arizona or New Mexico, while the desert outside of King K. Rool's lair looks more vast and empty, and more appropriately more like a coastal desert.
The deserts are a big tip-off in themselves. Heck, wide shots of Congo Bongo Island don't even have room for its own desert, much less a red desert somewhere else. Patience though, all will come together soon.
Okay, you keep saying it will all come together, but I don't get it. These are not the Beatles, only cockroaches.
Actually, I'ma just address this point right now because here's a map of the Sonic Boom setting, and bruh, point to me where a desert the size of what we see in Sonic Boom can fit on this island too. Like, if you're really trying to certainly debunk this 100%, this ain't it, Chief, considering the exact same logic can be applied to the show that you're shooting at the angle from. So you're going to skip their flimsiest piece of evidence? The point about how their beaches look the same, despite the video in question acknowledging that a lot of beaches look the same? Wow.
But doodle tones, if they look the same, that means they're the same place. Because why do they look the same? If you and Scribble Sounds have the same character design, that must mean they're the same person.
Look, all I'm saying is Miku here will go on and on about mountains being fantastical or names of places and how the original video got them wrong, but the one instance of evidence that proves nothing or could otherwise be antithetical to the theory, she's suspiciously silent on it. I wonder if that's because of what is said during that section of the video, but we'll come back to that.
Okay, that legitimate point is cool and all, but you are clearly missing the point that my girl Hatsune Miku is playing the commentary on hard mode. This means she needs to skip the easy points and only use 2 layers for the visuals. I mean, it's so obvious.
You know, I don't know what I expected when I signed up to work with the 2 crackheads of the CC.
If Sarah is purple and Scribble Sounds is also purple and Scribble is Doodle, that means Doodle Tones is also Sarah Dust.
Wait a minute, if I am crazy, then this means I'm crafty as well. Which means I am canon to Dr.
Speaking of where Sonic lives, take a look at his house. Again, when scenes were happening inside of Sonic's place, looking at the interior, I felt like I was inside DK's treehouse, just with some added furniture.
Hint number 1 that you didn't pay enough attention when watching this show. That's not Sonic's house. That's Tails' house. Sonic's house is on the beach, and that fact is really hard to miss because of the multitudinous jokes they make about the location of his house and the fact that he doesn't have a door. I genuinely don't know how you could have missed that.
I mean, ultimately, who cares when their point is how similar Sonic's and DK's houses are, and comparing these 2 screenshots between what is actually Sonic's house and DK's treehouse, yeah, I can see it. Sure, maybe it would have been better for whoever was editing at Shadow Frederator to actually show a scene that takes place in Sonic's hut, and if that's the point you were trying to make, fine, whatever. But at that point, I would happily point out the hypocrisy of you not showing evidence at all.
Not to mention that saying this shows that they weren't paying attention to the show is rather flawed, since this could have just been a simple editing mistake. Like, Sonic's and Tails' house do look relatively similar in some ways, so it is possible that they just mixed up the houses. Like, it's just a small visual mistake that ultimately doesn't really matter in the video. And if you still want to say, oh, but they shouldn't have even made the mistake in the first place, I'd like to point to the fact that the person in the video and the person who edited the video are different people. The person we're seeing now is Ariel Somerville, and the credits in the video description for editing is Jacob Atkinson.
Hell, they even make a joke between Jacob and our hostess within the video itself.
But Sonic Boom is missing those 2 musical numbers per episode. Let's be real, that was the best part of Donkey Kong Country, and if you don't agree with me, you can fight me. I swear, Jacob, if you edit in a clip of Donkey Kong singing I Shower You with Coconut Cream Pies, I'm gonna be mad. That song is beautiful!
So this mistake is on the editor mixing up the houses rather than Ariel's lack of knowledge. And seeing how it's extremely common for these company channels to have an entire production team when making their videos, I feel like you should have at least been aware that the person in the video and the person editing the video could have been different. I guess you could say she could have caught the mistake and informed the editor if she's knowledgeable on the show, but that's also assuming that we know if she was involved in the editing process at all, or if she was even able to preview the video before it was uploaded.
Obviously, they're not living in the same house, but they've got to share the same architect at least. All the buildings in Sonic Boom's main village, Pleasant Valley.
Hint number 2, you paid zero attention to this show. Like, you literally had to pick the one name this town never actually had, didn't you? The supposed name comes from the episode Unnamed Episode. See, the village was founded as Badgerville, named after Jebediah Badger, but Jebediah was a tyrant, so the villagers ran him out of town and destroyed all traces of the village's name. From then forward, the village came to be called Unnamed Village until the episode Unnamed Episode, where a vote was put forward to change the name of the village. The two main candidates were Amy's Pleasant Valley and Eggman's Eggman City. Due to the circumstances of the episode, though, Amy lost the vote and the village was temporarily renamed to Eggman City until Eggman's scheme to take over the village was thwarted. After that, Styx, the true owner of the village is the only descendant of Jebediah Badger, decides to name the village Hedgehog Village after Amy. Pleasant Valley was never a name that this village had. The most accurate names would be Unnamed Village or Hedgehog Village, but definitely not Pleasant Valley. This slip-up is especially bizarre considering that you would have to have knowledge of the episode itself to make this error, but then you would know that the name was entirely incorrect. The Sonic Wiki, for example, lists the names of this village as Badgerville, Unnamed Village, Eggman City, and Hedgehog Village, with Pleasant Valley appearing nowhere in the entire article. In fact, the title of the village's article on the Sonic Wiki is Hedgehog Village. It baffles me how this mistake was even made. How in the actual flying heck do you watch that episode and come away thinking, yes, this place is named Pleasant Valley? How do you even mess that up? This more than anything shows Ariel's complete lack of knowledge about this show despite having hecking watched it. I don't know what she was doing while watching this show, but it definitely wasn't actually paying attention, that's for sure.
Hey Doodle, can we revive the Bleach joke? Because I certainly need it right now.
I'm almost inclined to concur. God damn, this is so condescendingly pedantic. It gives me a headache just listening to it.
Can you believe knowing only 1 out of 5 names an island went by makes you not a real Sonic Boom fan? I mean, I knew because of the incident, but for everyone with good mental headspaces, this is still overly condescending. I feel like I'm watching a commentary from 2016 again. It's bad enough I have to deal with one incident, please do not remind me of another one.
Like, oh my god, how petty do you need to be to go on a nearly 2-minute tangent just to say someone doesn't know what they're talking about over mixing up the name of a village? A goddamn village. Like, who even cares that the village never officially went by Pleasant Valley? It's ultimately unimportant in literally any discussion about Sonic Boom, let alone one discussing if Sank and Dank exist in the same universe so they can wank. Like, they didn't even bother giving it a name until like a third into the second season, and even then, it was still a name that was considered for the village, and was still a name that was supposed to refer to the village, official or not. And seeing as the village went from having no name to 5 in one episode, I wonder why she might have mixed up the village names. And on top of everything else, I find this funny how you use this as a reason why she doesn't know what she's talking about, despite the fact that Pleasant Valley was the only name not listed in the wiki. Almost makes it think she would have had to pay attention to the episode to remember that name.
Are identical to what we see on Congo Bongo. They are mostly round, hut-like houses made with wood on the bottom and then grass for the roof on top, or some variation of these materials. And among these, mixed in are more modern-looking designs as well, like Tails' Workshop or other establishments in the village, or Candy Kong's house or the Barrel Factory.
Okay, yes, the houses were inspired from the same source. This, however, is general islandy architecture. Thatch roofing is popular in tropical climates as insulation, and the design of the roof is meant to vent out hot air. It's that simple.
So not only is this a point with 0 citations to help your point stand on their own, that only really acknowledges half of the theory's evidence, seeing as the theory overlaps the architecture choices of traditional islander and modern factorial in one singular area.
Wait a minute. A short and concise point that isn't padded to oblivion. If we keep this up, I will finally be able to recover from the incident.
Furthermore, can we mention the fact that Donkey Kong's house is situated on a baobab tree? That's a kind of tree that has never once been seen on Seaside Island. Your move.
A counterpart to the treehouse also appears in the Donkey Kong Country animated series. Here the treehouse is also owned by Donkey and Diddy Kong, and it has more resemblance to a hut. The house sits on a platform fixated to a large tree, possibly an African baobab, and is accessible only by a barrel elevator. Possibly. Possibly. Possibly.
I should point out that Sonic Boom's island is a lot more populated, at least in the Pleasant Valley area. But we need to be fair. Donkey Kong Country's technology, when it came to 3D modeling, was very limited. Just look at how often they reuse character models. Like, 5 different characters are just Donkey Kong reskinned. A village on Congo Bongo would have been a creepy town of different colored copies of the main cast.
But it still would have been a town. Let's swerve and talk about Reboot for a second.
Why?
Reboot, for those of you that don't know, was the very first 3D animated cartoon to ever exist. It came out in 1994, 2 years before the Donkey Kong Country cartoon. Now look at these screenshots I'm about to show you and tell me that Donkey Kong Country couldn't have had more character models than it does. It probably wasn't about technological limitations so much as it was budgetary limitations. Even so, those are limitations that could have been worked around. It was the producer's choice, though, not to put in those extra characters and create a town. That's all there is to it.
Well, you see, Reboot and Donkey Kong are both 3D cartoons, so they exist in the same universe. DK has his own version of the GameCube with the Game Boy falling on him and sending him into the game world.
Okay, so am I the only one who thinks it's weird how you go on about how Reboot had designs that weren't reusing the same model over and over again? Yet in your very own example, you just ignore the 2 Robo-Boys who are just recolors of each other. Like, honestly, I love the double standards. It's great. I fucking love it. I totally don't want to end myself.
That's not to say that there aren't any populated areas on Congo Bongo. In Congo Bongo Festival of Lights, Krusha, King K. Rool's army, and King K. Rool himself all go home for the holidays via minecart. So all of the Kremling's families live somewhere else on the island, just a minecart commute away. Also, in the episode Zero to Hero, Krusha has to explain that he stopped for refreshments at the swamp, I assume at a bar, and he says that he flirted with the girl lizard. And we never once see a swamp, a bar, or any female alligators ever in the series. My point being that the people and places we see on the show are not everything that Congo Bongo has to offer. It's the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more life happening on some other side of the island that we just never visit.
The thing is, that only applies to the Kremlings. There's no indication that this applies to anything other than that.
Okay, so this is minor in comparison, but due to your placement at this point, it's very unclear which of her points you're refuting with this. Just please better clarify which point you're misconstruing this time, please. I need it.
If it's life in other areas you're trying to refute, this is dumb, because if the Kremlings have relatives in other areas, that would indicate some level of world building off of the island of Congo Bongo, regardless of if the Kongs have any indicator to go off of it to go with it. Just, why are you like this?
Honestly, I'm not even sure what this is supposed to accomplish. Like, even if you're right, what's this point supposed to do? If it just applies to the Kremlings, that still means that there is more to the island than what we just see if there are swamps and lady gators for Zenny to simp over that we don't see.
Nyate, you talk about snake people for 5 minutes and suddenly you're the scaly.
Well, I mean, you are a scaly, so yeah.
Just for that, I'm confiscating your pastries, Mr. King Koopa Man.
Though from looking at a full shot of the island, I don't know where all that can be. Maybe it's behind the mountain.
Or, maybe it's within all those trees? Just a thought.
Okay, so I'm not normally one for the explain card. However, why would this be the case? How do you know this fabled realm of relative homes couldn't just be behind the mountain as well? Or why not literally anywhere else? What makes you so certain about this, you Toy Story motherfucker? Explain!
You know in the Sonic Boom episode Planes, Trains, and Dudemobiles, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles all have to go in a 15-hour road trip to get to the other side of their island, so the place they're in is supposed to be massive. Take a look at the globe in Cranky's cabin, and apparently Congo Bongo is a giant, banana-shaped, Australia-sized continent in the middle of the Pacific that no one has ever noticed. Hey, we shouldn't judge. Didn't they just discover a new continent over there? See, I would believe that it would take 15 hours to get from one place to another on an island that was as big as Australia, but, you know, I can only use the old 3D technology excuse so many times, guys.
Congratulations! Welcome to the part of the video where Ariel starts debunking herself. You might be wondering why we're still here, huh? Well,
it's simple, because you want to aspire to be manga common so much that you don't care how it turns out in the end. By the way, keep this interjection in mind.
Honestly, the biggest difference that I see between these two islands that keep them from being the same are the cultures. Any Donkey Kong Country fan can tell you that over there they are all about bananas and barrels, and on Congo Bongo they are everywhere. Around Pleasant Valley, not so much. They have barrels and they have bananas, but they're not like the main export or anything. There was actually this one scene where I think it was Amy laying out fruit, and I was like, oh, look, a banana! And I thought it was strange that there were other fruits in the bowl. I experienced TV show culture shock.
you do know that it's common for large islands to have cultural differences between different regions of the island, right? I'm pretty sure Australia has plenty of regional quirks. Just speaking from my experience in the United States, which is not an island but still includes plenty of regional quirks, I can travel 8 or 9 hours north and experience a lot of regional differences. It happens.
Alright, so you point out how fruits may exist in Australia, but how do we know fruits are real in Australia?
Game theory. Did Donkey Kong Country invent bananas?
I refuse to take your word on this.
Alright, you Canadian freaks, let me come in and explain why this point is bullshit. Alright, Miku. So, hi, fellow nuisance to the world. The United States are probably the single worst example you could possibly give to this point, mostly because America is on its own a melting pot of other cultures. Plenty of people migrated here, or were brought here through a slave trade, let's not mix words here, so a lot of those groups had to brought their cultures with them and introduce them to the others around them. So obviously America would be a place where you would see a variety of other cultures in such a focused area. Also, as you said, it's not merely an island, it's a goddamn continent. So this just doesn't work as a good comparison no matter which way you slice it. A more secluded space with not a lot of inhabitants would probably be less varied in cultural shifts, and that's where the culture shock can come from, since Congo Bongo is so small and its culture is centered around 2 items. It would potentially be a lot more jarring to see more than just those 2 items when you look at Sonic Boom.
Yes, I'm going to be playing devil's advocate for a lot of Ariel saying why her theory doesn't hold up. That's because half of Ariel's reasonings in that regard are flawed, and I want to play around with alternate viewpoints, but we'll come back to this in my final thoughts.
You are sure doing a bang-up job of that, I tells ya.
Can you imagine using 15 seconds of your point just to say you're debunking the point because it's bad? Couldn't be me, especially not after the incident.
But other than that, it seems like this theory has a lot going on for it, and it seems to hold up pretty well. Or does it?
Hey, wait a minute!
Oh hey, look at that! It's the funny text that shows the point of this video is not to prove that Song and Dong do indeed exist in the same universe, but to prove if it's possible at all, which includes talking about what goes against it.
So I would mainly say because of Sonic's vast red desert that Congo Bongo does not have, that these 2 islands are not the same. There's also those 15 hours that Sonic has to drive to get across his island, while Congo Bongo, 45-minute walk. That is 1000% not the size of Australia. Get a new globe, Cranky, without the overcompensating banana island.
The thing is, we actually do have an aerial shot of Seaside Island. It's not banana-shaped like Congo Bongo, which is still a huge hit to the theory, but it actually does look about as big as Congo Bongo does on Cranky's globe. In fact, it could very well be that the wide shots of Congo Bongo in the show are plagued by technical limitations, and the Congo Bongo we see on the globe is the actual size of Congo Bongo.
Okay, I get this image of Sonic's island from space is supposed to be your big gotcha evidence and all, but would it kill you to show how big it is in comparison to the rest of the world? Like, just showing it in a vacuum doesn't do shit in telling me how big it actually is. Like, if I said Iceland is as big as a real banana and only showed this image, you more than likely would not have a good enough reference for how big it actually is in comparison. What I'm trying to say is, I want the unedited feet pics or it didn't happen.
Not sure Avi would like hearing you're entitled.
Come on, what's the worst he would do? Burn down a building I'm in? Come on, that would never happen in a million years.
Also, are we really comparing the size of an island from what looks like a shot from space to a shot of an island on a globe? I don't think that's really comparable. And if we go back to the game map of the island, it doesn't really look like that at all, making me question if that's actually meant to be the island. I mean, maybe they changed the island shape from game to cartoon? Maybe? But there's no real indication that they did, and honestly, you're not really being helpful, as you're just showing me a random island from space and saying it's seaside without anything else to further prove it. You might as well show me an image of Australia and say this is France.
Doesn't it all mean the islands are the same, and it's probably more likely the globe is inaccurate than the wide shots, but it's at least something.
This makes even less sense, though. Alright, no, hold on. So, we're willing to say that the globe has more of a chance to be inaccurate than the wide shots. But then, what was your point to begin with? Never mind how the overview shots are supposed to be what the island actually looks like and the globe being a manufactured item in universe. If you're willing to say that it's more likely for the globe to be inaccurate, then you effectively have shot down your already flimsy point.
Man, if she's going to be making my points for me, then I don't even need to be here.
Sonic forces D's nuts.
This doesn't mean they couldn't be neighbors. The climates are still crazy similar, and the identical tones and themes and how their world works has to count for something, right? I asked at the beginning of this episode, are these two shows in the same universe?
Which is the angle this theory should have gone for all along, instead of meandering along the obviously wrong viewpoint of, are they on the same island?
Have we been watching the same video, ma'am? Because she never said that the theory was absolutely solid, but more so was examining the theory from a neutral stance on the matter, going over the pros and cons of the theory, similarly to how you fucking 180 midway into your commentary. Yeah, we may have glossed over your 15 seconds of, I'm looking over this video to give multiple perspectives, but genuinely, this sucks. Because you're actively stretching for more places to argue, even if the video isn't making definitive statements to argue against.
Granted, she does bring up the possibility of the two islands being the same earlier in the theory, but still, it's not the entire crux of the theory, and she only said it could be possible if the theory works out. And seeing as the theory ain't exactly working out right now, needless to say, I don't think she's calling them the same island anymore.
How can we decipher if Donkey Kong exists in Sonic Boom, or if Sonic exists in Donkey Kong Country?
Well, DKC has 0 references to Sonic, so that's a dead end. Sonic, however, has a bunch of not Donkey Kong references, but video game references, particularly Mario. And you know, Mario and Donkey Kong originated from the same arcade game, so if Mario is there, then Donkey Kong is there. In the episode's Let's Play Musical Friends and Nominatus Rising, there's a mention of a princess in another castle, which is Mario's lady, Princess Peach. So Mario must be around, right? Well, no. Unfortunately, when Mario is referenced in Sonic Boom, he's not mentioned like he's Sonic's old rival or buddy or anything. In the episode Eggman the Video Game Part 1, Tails mentions the Super Plumber Brothers, which is obviously supposed to be this world's Super Mario Brothers. So basically in Sonic Boom, Mario is just a video game that Sonic plays. That's so weird if you think about it.
Does that totally exclude Donkey Kong from existing in Sonic Boom Sonic's world, though?
I'm going to answer that question before you do. Maybe. It really depends on Cranky's status in the cartoon, which I'm not all that savvy on. If Cranky's origins fighting Mario for Pauline are never mentioned in the cartoon, then fine. In fact, from the limited amount of research I could do without watching the whole freaking show, which I do not at all have time for, it seems like that's the case. In that case, I suppose it's plausible. Keep an eye on that thought.
Maybe? Are you out of your fucking mind?
Ugh, please do me a favor, Miku, and stop fucking cutting in to make a point that the video literally goes on to make after your interjection. I am so fucking tired.
Does that totally exclude Donkey Kong from existing in Sonic Boom Sonic's world, though? No, but this does.
If the answer to the question of, is there still a possibility to Sonic and DK living in the same universe, is maybe because of Cranky's origins by your logic, then Ariel saying that the aforementioned evidence that was just brought up not being the nail in the coffin to the theory should not be something to interject into. This is literally nothing.
No, but this does. In the episode Space Mageddon-ocalypse, we get a view of the Sonic Boom planet when the characters go off into space. And if you take one look at the land below them, that doesn't look like Earth, does it? No continent on Earth forms that shape. Even if they've called their planet Earth at some point in the show, I don't think that's the same one we know of. Maybe you think it was just artistic license? Nope! At the beginning of Mombot, Sonic recognizes this little kid science project as their solar system. It's similar to the Earth's solar solar system, but it doesn't look right. The planets are different colors and different sizes. They look kind of out of order. This is another universe entirely. Why am I putting so much focus on the fact that this is not the right planet Earth out of like all the universe choices of Earths we have? Because looking at Cranky Kong's globe one last time, that is very clearly what we recognize as a map of our Earth, with an Australia-sized Congo Bongo sticker slapped onto it.
The thing is, the globe can absolutely be called into question solely based on the size of Congo Bongo. If Congo Bongo isn't really that big, then the globe is inaccurate, and it's entirely possible that the world could very much look the way it does in Sonic Boom.
Even if you're right that the globe is inaccurate, the problem with the globe would have been that it got the size of the island wrong. So as far as we know, the geometry is still correct. Hell, for Congo Bongo, we know it's correct, since we see an overview of the island in Federator's video, and it's in the shape of a banana, the exact same shape we see on the globe, so the geometry does seem accurate. In that case, the geometry we see from Sonic Boom's planet and Donkey Kong's globe are completely different, so it can still be used to disprove them being in the same universe. God, I'm arguing fictional geometry in a commentary. What the hell has the world come to? Delete this.
Miku then goes on to final thoughts, and it's more of the same, so I don't care. Alright boys, final thoughts time. Dear lord, this video was a mess. Miku, doll, don't get me wrong, I get the idea of taking a conversation at multiple perspectives and trying to argue from more of a neutral stance. I often do that a lot in my own work. I just can't behind how this was done in a way that had to find any little thing wrong with Federator's video to make these big nothing statements off of. That also took the video so grossly out of context that it's infuriating. I get it, you're trying to be the next theory debunking commentator on YouTube, and there is a place for that. But if you have to recontextualize the entire point of a video to make a case that a theory is bad, then maybe it's not worth the time. I would say not worth the effort, but at this point I'd hesitate to call what you've demonstrated here as effort. It'd be easy to say just don't take the video out of context, but that's vague critique that doesn't really mean much, so I won't make that my point. I just wanted to say that this was definitely not it, Chief. I'll leave the actual advice to my co-op partners here.
Honestly, I really feel like going at the video at multiple perspectives just hampered the video overall, where for the most part you're supposed to be debunking this theory, but then having points where you defend the legitimacy of it, and other points making me wonder why even bother with it in the first place. Like the whole point with there being more to the island just applying to the Kremlings. I think it just overall led to the video feeling very pedantic and at times confusing even. Especially when you get to your final thoughts. When you say you did it to prove that the theory is stupid, and it just leaves me with more questions. Like if that's the case, then what the hell were your points defending the theory supposed to do exactly? I don't know if you take the same approach with your other videos, but if so, then I honestly think it would be better if you just went at them with a single perspective, as it will help your videos be more focused and consistent.
Hey, so real quick, you guys notice how throughout this entire video, Hatsune Miku has made next to no points rooted in objectivity? Mostly just a bunch of what-ifs and who-hungas. If you really wanted to explain how Sonic and Donkey Kong do not coexist, then all you needed to do was bring up how Goombas do not exist in Sonic and deny the Olympic Games existing as much as climate change. Would have saved you more time and, not gonna lie, would have been somewhat less annoying to listen to. Instead, it's just a bunch of minor nitpicks that do next to nothing to actually disprove the theory. So please, focus more on making your points based on more objective things that exist in the work, and make sure your points cover things in the theory that actually matter. Also, I pointed this out earlier, but you came off as incredibly condescending to your target. If I wanted to deal with an annoying know-it-all, the first person I would go to is my family, and the second person I would go to is a commentary from 2017. I don't know, maybe I wouldn't roll my eyes at this video as often if you spoke down to your target less and actually came off like a reasonable human being. Maybe once you do all these improvements, I can finally stop being reminded of the incident.
Alright, Sarah, I'll bite. What is this incident you keep alluding to?
Well, Doodle, since you are so curious of this death-defying tale. It's actually quite simple. I stubbed my toe against the door and it hurt really bad for like 2 minutes.
Is that it? Is that really the payoff to this bit?
To be fair, I had to put my pinky toe in a full-body pinky cast.
Yeah, I was there when that happened. Like, it was pretty scary, not gonna lie. Sarah went into a coma for like 4 seconds. I didn't think he would wake up again.
You know what? I've got other things to do with my time. Y'all remember to close up when you're done.
Alright, Bowser dude, now that Doodle is gone, we can say whatever we want and nobody can get annoyed at it!
So I have a theory that Tomatopotamus from Sonic Boom is indeed a house hippo.
Fuck, you know what? I'm starting to see where Doodle is coming from now, and like her, I too shall abandon my legal responsibilities and go home to watch the hit anime Soul Eater.
Maybe Sarah Dust is also a house hippo.
Hey, I heard Sarah was entitled. Do you want to burn his house down?
Do I?